Hello, and welcome back to the Garden of Grace devotion. My name is Pastor Katie, and I'm one of the pastors at Trinity Lutheran Church in Lilburn, Georgia. I greet you on this chilly October morning. I can actually see my breath as I'm recording this. I'm wearing very warm clothes because I'm from South Florida and it is freezing. Nonetheless, here I am outside offering the garden devotion. Throughout the winter, if I continue to be outside, you'll see like my more and more layers. I'll fill up the screen probably by January. But for today, I greet you on this chilly October morning with a question. Do you ever feel like God, in some way or another, has gotten your attention? Do you ever feel like God has gotten your attention in one way or another? Sometime recently, I was just having a frustrating morning. Things just weren't going my way. I was just aggravated. And during that experience of feeling just super frustrated, I was looking for something. I can't even remember what it was. But I opened a drawer while I was in my search, and I came across this little card. In the midst of my frustration, I came across this little card, which has the serenity prayer on it. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It didn't do much, though, for my temperament, for my mood. I was still pretty aggravated, and I continued on my search for whatever it was I was looking for. Literally, less than 3 minutes later, came across this bookmark, Serenity Prayer. At that point, I thought, okay, I see you, God. I see you. I see you. And I realized that it was probably time to take a moment and pause and say the words of this prayer. Had I not paused in that moment, I wonder how many versions of the Serenity Prayer I would have found in my house that morning. There are lots of them, so I probably could have found, I don't know how many. But after the second occurrence in a very short period of time of coming across this prayer, I took a moment to pause and to pray. God, grant me the serenity. This prayer has been one of my favorites for a long time. It's a prayer that's attributed to St. Francis of Assisi, though he didn't write it. Reinhold Niebuhr actually wrote it in the 1930s or so. He was a preacher man, and he included this prayer in a sermon. Later, it took on a life of its own, this prayer. And it was printed actually in materials for U.S. Army chaplains to use and to give to soldiers during World War II. This prayer was used during a time of great turbulation. The original version of this prayer is a little bit different. When it was published, finally, in 1951, it read like this: God, give me grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change those things which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish one from the other. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time. Accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did, the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you would make all things right. If I surrender to your will so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen. That was the longer version of the prayer that was originally published in 1951 by Niebuhr. That longer version is no longer used. Now we have a shorter version, which is regularly used in AA meetings, in 12-step meetings, all across the world. That simple prayer: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I will share with you that oftentimes when I pray this prayer, I pray it on a loop. For sometimes I'm praying to accept things that really I should try to change, or I'm praying to change things that really I should accept with God's grace. It's a fascinating prayer that applies in most areas of our lives. When my girls were younger, I taught them about this prayer. And this prayer, I think, can be prayed in many different tones of voice. I taught my daughters that they could pray this prayer: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, like my sister, to the courage to change the things I can, like the way I respond to her, and the wisdom to know the difference. My children got a kick out of that. It still comes up from time to time. You can pray this prayer as a whisper of exasperation. You can pray this prayer with anger. You can pray this prayer with peace. This prayer for me is a grounding tool in life. When I feel overwhelmed, or I feel like perhaps maybe there isn't much I can do, God, grant me the serenity, I pray. I pray that this prayer will be meaningful for you as well, this day and every day. I feel like God got my attention that morning, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful. And so I wanted to share the serenity prayer with you this morning. I pray God's peace for you today and always. And I will close with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity. Grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and Lord, the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thanks be to our God, who journeys with us always and in all ways. Amen.